Nobody really prepares you for what it's like to step foot in Italy for the first time. Sure, you've seen the movies and the social media posts, but the reality can be somewhat of a shock. I've seen too many travelers to Italy get frustrated or annoyed at things because they didn't know what to expect or how to prepare. So in this video, I'm going to show you the reality of what it's like to tour and travel in Italy and what you need to know to have the best possible experience. Italy is one of the most visited countries in the world, and you feel it. It's busy at all of the popular tourist spots most of the time, especially if you're traveling in the summer. And not only is it busy, but in the summer, it gets hot. And you need to be prepared for these things because this annoys and irritates a lot of travelers. If they're unprepared for the heat and the crowds, and you end up waiting for hours just to get a close look at the Trevi Fountain in Rome, or you're trying to get into the cathedral in Florence and you didn't realize it was going to take 2 hours waiting in line in the heat, this is the reality, especially if you're traveling in summer months.
Overcrowded? We just waited for a couple of hours.
I have myself waited to get into the Florence Cathedral for almost an hour in the rain in November. So these crowds don't completely ever go away. However, if you don't like the crowds and you prefer milder weather, try Italy in the late fall, winter, or early spring. The weather is more iffy. You're going to have more rain during those times of the year. But if you prepare and plan properly, you could be okay. You've got umbrellas, you've got an overcoat, no problem. And the crowds will be considerably less. If you're going during the peak summer season, think theme park, because that's what these crowds are like at most of the major spots. And if this is your first time, you can't really avoid Rome or Florence or Venice. Those are the cities that are almost must-sees on any Italian itinerary. But there is a strategy that I've used sometimes that works pretty well. If this is your first time and you know you're going to be facing big crowds, let's say in Rome, you still might start out your vacation there. But instead of hitting all of the top spots in one trip, you could head a little bit south from Rome. You could head down to Napoli. You could head down to the Amalfi Coast. Maybe take the ferry and hit Sicily. And while these places are still crowded in the summer, they're less crowded than Rome, Florence, and Venice. Now, if you've never been to Italy before, what is the first place that comes to mind that you can't miss? Put it in the comments below. One of the biggest culture shocks for me in coming to Italy was how different the pace of life is. Italians aren't rude. They just do things on a slow schedule. And especially for us Americans who often are used to a much more quick pace of life, in Italy, things slow down and you just kind of have to slow down with it. Otherwise, you're going to get frustrated and upset that things aren't happening the way you're used to. Expect long meal times. Italians take their time to eat. They can be sitting for lunch or dinner for 2 hours or more. And that's kind of expected. And the wait staff treat everybody like this. So they're not in a hurry. Now, that doesn't mean you're waiting to get food for an hour. That just means if you ordered 3 courses, you're going to get that first course and they're going to give you some time before they bring out the next course and another period of time before they bring out the third. And then they'll never bring the check. Well, of course, I'm kidding about that, but it'll seem like that because Italians think it's rude to offer you the check at a restaurant. So what they do is wait for you to ask for it. So that's one of the things you're going to have to ask for. You're going to have to ask your waiter for the check. You can say il conto, and that's how you ask for it in Italian. And they'll probably get a kick out of that. But you have to ask for it or you'll just be sitting there for hours longer. And what we Americans typically think as cafes, they call bars in Italy. And these are typically coffee shops. And they'll usually be open throughout the day. But don't expect get those same kind of hours out of the restaurants because they're on a different schedule. So you're going to have restaurants for dinner that don't open until 8 o'clock, maybe 7:30. 7 o'clock would be early. So don't expect to be eating dinner at 6 o'clock because there won't be anything open but a coffee shop where you might be able to get a sandwich, but not a real Italian dinner. And while most of the restaurants also open for lunch, they close in between lunch and dinner. And during that period of 3 to 4 hours, there's nothing. I'll be honest, one thing that kind of pissed me off the first time I went into a restaurant in Italy was that there's no free water. I'm so used to just having it automatically brought to the table. Every restaurant in the US offers you tap water. In Italy, that's not the case. They only have bottled water at most places.
And wine.
Which means you can get water, but you have to pay for it. It can be still or sparkling, but you still have to pay for it. If you go in knowing this, you won't be as frustrated as I was, because it's kind of a shocker when you expect one thing and then all of a sudden they want money for it. And the same scenario kind of happens with the bathrooms. Now, if you're eating at a restaurant, they'll often have a bathroom that you can use for free. But if you're just out and about and touring around, there are rarely free bathrooms. Although you might find bathrooms around museums and other popular spots, they'll usually charge you for them. So you want to always have a couple of coins, like a €1 coin on you so that you can get in there. A lot of them these days, though, do take credit cards as well, believe it or not. But it's a per person charge to enter the bathroom unless you're eating at an establishment that has one. And sometimes even in that case, they will charge, but they'll give you a receipt if you ate there, and then you can use a code off of that receipt to get in for free.
So I wanted to go to the bathroom and my husband told me, well, there's no problem. Just use the receipt for all the food we just had. You mean the receipts I already put in the garbage can? Oh, now we have to get more food.
And you might be wondering about tipping in Italy. It's very different from in the US. So in the US, you're always adding gratuity onto a bill. In Italy, that's simply not done. I mean, if you have exceptional service and you want to leave an extra couple euros, that's plenty. They don't expect anything, but they do charge a cover at most restaurants. It's called coperto. It will be on your bill, and you'll be wondering, what did I order coperto? It's nothing that you ordered. It's simply a cover charge. It's usually per person, and it always includes children as well. So if there's 4 people sitting at the table, no matter what age, unless you're a baby, they're going to charge you coperto. It's a service charge, and it's added on to bills at almost every restaurant. And for me, that's one reason sometimes I'll just get something to go and take it back to the hotel. And I've known a lot of travelers to Italy that complain about the AC, especially in the hotels that they booked. Because unless you're booking a hotel that is a higher end hotel, an American brand or a European brand that's charging like 300 to 500 euros a night, and that's a lot of money, you might be booking a hotel that is more of a local or independently owned building, and it might not have air conditioning. It's not a given in Italy like it is in the US. So you want to make sure that when you're booking a hotel, if that's important to you, make sure that it's listed that they have AC. Now, this next thing is very important, and it actually caused me to miss a few key attractions on my first trip to Italy. One of the biggest mistakes I see travelers to Italy make is they just show up and expect to wing it. But Italy is not a destination that you go to and sit in one spot for your entire trip. In fact, in Italy, the travel is part of the experience. You have to hit several cities during your stay. I usually recommend 2 to 3 cities per week at a maximum. If you do any more than that, you're going to spend all your time traveling. But traveling has its hiccups, and you have to be ready to move from one city to the next after 2 or 3 days, get on another train, go to a new hotel, and then explore that city. That's how people really see Italy, and it's very different from a lot of vacations that we might be used to taking. Some people rent cars, but driving in Italy is not the easiest thing. A lot of the streets are small and very busy in some of the more popular tourist destinations. It's almost easier to just rely on public transportation. The train system is great, but they do have occasional strikes which cause delays and cancellations, and it can disrupt part of your trip for a limited period of time. You just have to know going in that these kinds of things happen and you just roll with it. If you get stuck in Rome for an extra night, then you just see something else that you didn't get to see. And it's very important to plan out your trip. You don't want to just show up in Rome, figure you'll do the Vatican, you'll do the Colosseum, and then you'll figure out what you want to do next. Because a lot of these things, even trains, need to be booked in advance. And the further in advance that you book them, the lower the price you're going to pay. So if you're doing everything by the seat of your pants last minute, you're going to run into more crowds, higher costs, and things being unavailable. For example, if you know you're going to go see the Vatican, you definitely got to buy those tickets months in advance of your trip because the popular attractions sell out. And if you don't have your tickets well before you arrive, you won't be able to find them. One of the amazing things, though, about a trip to Italy is that when you're exploring all these different towns and cities and you're doing it by train, maybe you take a bus here or there, you're getting to see it from a different perspective, a different point of view. And it's not so stressful. You're not driving, you're letting somebody else do the driving for you.
I didn't think driving around Italy was stressful. It was my husband behind the wheel.
And the reality is, once you get over that first couple of days of being in shock, of being in a different culture, a different place, maybe getting over that jet lag, it starts to sink in that you're standing in places, maybe it's the Colosseum, that shaped Western civilization. You're going to places, maybe in Florence, where you're seeing original artworks from the greatest artists in history. You're seeing a sunset in Venice. I mean, these are things that movies are made out of. And you start to get a really wonderful emotional feeling about being in Italy. And that's one of the great things about it. But it takes just relaxing and settling into the environment in order to really enjoy that. If you're rushing around all the time or having to make plans on the fly, you're not going to relax and you're not going to really enjoy what's there. I discovered immediately when I first came to Italy something that nobody really ever tells you, and that is that Italy can be a bit overwhelming, not because it's bad, but because it's layered. Italy is full of art, history, energy, beauty, and even chaos. Your first trip to Italy isn't really going to be relaxing. It's immersive, and you have to immerse yourself in all there is to be offered. I've seen too many travelers come here expecting to just take it easy. You're going to be doing a lot of walking in Italy. It's the way everybody gets around, especially since you're going to be exploring different cities and probably getting from one to the next by train, and then you're going to be walking from station to hotel and then walking to the different sites you want to see. Yes, there is transportation. There are taxis, even Ubers in some spots, and you can take public transportations like the buses, which are fairly easy to figure out with apps and technology these days. But even with those tools, you're still going to be doing a fair amount of walking that many of us aren't used to. So if you're planning this trip, don't let the intensity of Italy scare you. Just be prepared and plan properly. If you prefer to stay away from the biggest crowds, go in the off season. It's still very beautiful. The weather can be hit or miss, but you can still have a great time. And you're not going to Italy to sit on a beach. You're going to Italy to see the sights, to see the history, to see the beauty, and you're going to see that year round. If you're traveling in the busy season, be prepared and plan well in advance. If you have your museum tickets, if you have your train scheduled and all that planned out, you'll have a much better time because when you're dealing with all these people, you don't want to be trying to buy tickets and get in line and do things that you haven't planned ahead. And there's a few simple mistakes you're going to want to avoid. But first, if you would take a moment and subscribe to our channel, hit that like button. It helps us grow, and we'll continue to bring you travel updates. Now, speaking of mistakes, what I see a lot of new tourists to Italy do is they don't dress properly. Yes, the summer can be hot. If you're coming in the summer, you might be wearing tank tops and especially shorts. But these kind of things are not allowed in certain venues. So if you're going to a religious site, certain museums, especially the Vatican, you'll be denied entry, even if you have tickets, if your shoulders aren't covered and your knees aren't covered. You just want to plan ahead and make sure if your shoulders are exposed that you have some scarf or something to cover up with if you're going into one of these sites, and that you also have a skirt or pants that are long enough to cover your knees. And we talked about all the walking you're going to be doing, and one of the biggest mistakes I've seen tourists to Italy make is they wear sandals or flip-flops or even high-heeled shoes on cobblestone streets. It's a big no-no. You're going to hurt your feet. Make sure you have comfortable, laced-up shoes that you can walk all day with, and you'll be thanking me. And there are a whole host of other mistakes that travelers to Italy make. I'm going to tell you how to avoid the rest of those right here.